Hello, everybody. With the time being 7 o'clock on June 13th, I'd like to call the Planning and Development Committee to order. Can I please have a roll call?
Phil Kaider.
Here.
Hayleitner. Here. Bongard.
Here.
Bancroft.
Here.
Lencioni.
Yes.
Petrilla.
Here.
Warball.
Here.
Bessner.
Here.
Weber.
Here. Thank you. First off, we have the omnibus vote. We currently have 2 items, but I believe one of them is going to be removed. Go ahead, Rita.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to remove item 4A for a staff question, please.
Okay, so
Thank
we have a motion. Can do we have a second to that? So moved. So moved by Mr. Bessner. All righty. With that, we have 4B. Who would like to approve that? Or do you want to start with 4A? You wanted to move. You want to take 4A off?
I wanted to take. I don't think that needs a motion, though. I just wanted to remove it from omnibus.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's
okay. Okay. So let's continue on the omnibus. So moved by
Besner, I'll second it.
moved by Besner, seconded by Bancroft. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. All right. Let's go back to 4A. Thank you, Russ.
Yes, this is the final plat of subdivision for the Pride of Kane County PUD, which was approved in 2020. The scope of the review, it's a requirement of the PUD approval that a subdivision plat be submitted. The review is limited to compliance with the PUD preliminary plan and the subdivision plat that's attached and compliance with the subdivision code. So staff has reviewed those documents and is recommending approval.
Go ahead, Rita.
As usual, Russ has answered my question before I even asked it. So thanks, Russ. My question was, is this attached to the PUD and to the plan? And yes, it is. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for 4A? Approval. Lencioni moves, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Warball. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay.
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 We have 2 nays. Motion carries. Moving along to 4C.
Good evening. An applications for PUD preliminary plan and special use for a drive-through facility have been filed by Eric Doms on behalf of Troutman and Doms to facilitate redevelopment of 2600 East Main Street. It's a 3-parcel site located within the Foxfield Commerce Center PUD at the northeast corner of East Main Street and Fieldgate Drive. They're proposing a physician's immediate care center and an Andy's Frozen Custard with a drive-through. As part of the PUD preliminary plan, they propose demolishing the existing building, subdividing the property into 2 parcels, constructing a roughly 4,000 square foot physician's immediate care building on lot 1 and a 2,000 square foot Andy's Frozen Custard on lot 2. The site access from Fieldgate Drive utilizing existing driveways will remain, and cross-access to the adjacent shopping center to the north and east will remain. As you remember, a Casey's fuel station was proposed at this site in 2001. This is the same owner, but bringing back different projects. The plan meets the zoning ordinance standards regarding drive-through facilities with the stacking requirement met with a double order lane. And the plan this plan is showing a longer driveway, and the other plans do not. This is the current plan, and the other ones will need to be updated before the city council meeting. The Plan Commission held a public hearing on the 7th and voted 9-0 to recommend approval of the PUD preliminary plan and special use application, subject to resolution of staff comments. They did provide the following comments to the applicant that were in line with some of the staff comments, but basically more trees in the open green space behind the immediate care center, add articulation to the west elevation of the physician's immediate care building, add some handicap spaces, evaluate the impacts of trees and light poles being located within the same landscape medians, and coordinate with the shopping center in terms of the parking spaces and landscape islands. The applicant was agreeable to incorporating the comments into the revised plans that they will submit at a later date. And with that, I can turn it over to you guys for any questions.
Great, thank you. Questions from up here?
Move for approval.
Second. Wow. Rita moves. Bongard seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving along to 4D. Eric, how's it going?
Good evening. I do have a presentation for this, or a PowerPoint for this. So this would be a recommendation to approve a sales tax sharing agreement with McGrath 4085, better known as Gary McGrath. Gary McGrath is here in attendance, and of course is a car dealer with several locations in St. Charles and in Chicagoland. The property is over at the present run property for consideration. You can see on the map here. The Honda, which is currently under construction, is in the blue, and in the red is the proposed site, which would be for a Kia car dealership. Just a little close-up site plan. The Honda dealership is in blue with the proposed Kia in green, and then future development is in yellow. Before I dive into this agreement, I think it's all good for us just to have a background of where we're at with sales tax for car dealerships here in St. Charles. So we do have 10 brand name car dealerships in St. Charles. Of course, we have more, but these are brand names. Total sales tax revenue for the past 3 years. This is important because they do bring in a lot of sales tax for the city of St. Charles and everywhere. In 2019 and 2020, it was about $3.5 million. And then you see this jump to $4.4 million here in 2021. Of course, that's good for the city. This is largely because car prices are up right now. They're in demand. Car prices have gone up, and that's for the increase. Kind of diving into the numbers, looking at the average or median sales tax revenue per car dealership, I kind of came up with the average or the median being at about $350,000. The max, so this would be our top performing car dealership, is $725,000, and then our minimum is $230,000. This is all kind of explained in the graph. This is not considering the last year or kind of the pandemic years. This is only years 2015 to 2019, and you can see that they're kind of on the incline. Also wanted to give a history of sales tax sharing agreements with car dealerships, because I think that some people, if they've never heard of it, they don't quite understand why. What I want to get across here is that this is very normal. In 2016, CMAP did a study and found that there were 127 sales tax sharing agreements with car dealerships in northeastern Illinois. This was 35% of all sales tax sharing agreements in the area. So these are prevalent. And then I just wanted to show some examples of what these look like. We did talk to Kane McKenna, which of course is our consultant for a lot of our TIF analysis or performance analysis. They did kind of inform us that these have been increasing over the years, that more and more cities are competing with each other, and that they're offering more lucrative incentives to attract these car dealerships because they produce so much sales tax for the cities that they go to. Just some examples that I pulled out. Lincolnwood in 2018 did a 15-year agreement for 50%. The max on that was $10 million. North Riverside in 2020 did a 20-year 50% rebate with no max, which is actually more common than you think. Romeoville in 2016 did a 15-year agreement, which was the 70-60-50 rebate, and the max was 8.2. Wanted to put that one on there because this actually affected me when I was in Joliet. I came after this, but that car dealership was actually in Joliet. They approached Joliet asking for an incentive. Joliet said no thank you, and they went to the next town over and got an incentive from them and left. That then kind of triggered in Joliet saying, hey, we need to keep these in our city because they're such big tax revenue generators. Two more that I'm not going to go into detail on right now, but later on. One, there is a proposed Kia in Elgin that is also receiving an incentive. I'll go into that a little bit later. And then just because this incentive that we've negotiated this year was kind of based on the Honda agreement done in 2021, I want to do a comparison there as well. About this project, just some quick facts. One, Kia dealership, the total project costs are about $21 million. Eligible costs for incentives of about $14.1 million. This would attract 60 new jobs. Year one projections of total sales would be about $44 million. Year one projected sales tax revenue would be $375,000. Total estimated sales tax revenue for 20 years, this is pre-incentive, would be about a little over $14 million. I should note now that all the analysis that we did for this was based off of a low volume model. Mr. McGrath did give us 3 models, the high, medium, and low. We did vet those numbers, and we determined that the low volume was the most realistic and conservative to go with, so everything that you see is based off of that model. The agreement structure, sales tax sharing agreement, so this is basically a car dealer pays his sales tax and then gets rebated a portion of it back. The term on this agreement is 20 years. The sales tax breakdown for years 1, 2, and 3 is 75% to the dealer, 25% to the city, and then in year 4, for the remainder of the agreement, it goes to 50-50 split. The max rebate is $5.2 million, roughly. This is a little bit different. I've actually never done this in agreement, and I haven't seen it done, but the city actually receives the first $250,000 per this agreement. So the first $250,000 that's produced, the city gets to keep that. It's not split 50-50. It's kept with the city. Everything above that, then it gets split. Then it actually goes to McGrath until he's made whole. This agreement does include a clawback provision, so if he does opt to leave St. Charles or close, there is provision in there that he would have to pay some of that sales tax that he has received back. That part of it is for 20 years, I should say, so even if he's reached his maximum in year 13 or 15, whatever it is, the clawback provision is for 20 years. So if in year 18 he leaves, he's going to have to give a prorated amount of that sales tax that he's received back to the city. And then, actually, fairly important, but a minor part of this agreement is that it does allow for some easements that the city does want, primarily for electrical services that are going to be needed for the remainder of the site that we'd like to see developed, and then also a small piece on the corner that would allow for a small welcoming sign, as this is a gateway to the city. What does all this mean when you look into the numbers? So projected 20-year sales tax revenue, again, $14.1 million. At the end of the 20 years, we're looking about 8.8, close to 8.9 being retained by the city, and about 5.2 going back to Mr. McGrath. Kind of crunching the numbers again in the low volume model, we would expect that he would actually hit the rebate in year 17. After year 17, or whenever he makes the rebate, whatever year it's in, then all the sales tax gets funneled to the city. Comparisons. So on the left-hand side, we do see the current agreement where I just went through those terms. This was largely based off of the Honda sales tax sharing agreement that we did in 2021. That was a 15-year term. However, the sales tax breakdown was a little bit different. It was, for all 15 years, it was 75% went to the car dealership and only 25% went to the city. Also included in that was about $1.2 million in reimbursement because there were some utilities improvements that were needed on site. So Mr. McGrath will complete those improvements, prove that he paid for them, and then he'll be reimbursed, and that's an estimated $1.2 million. So that's an upfront cost. So with both of those pieces in there, the 75% going to the car dealership, and then the upfront for the reimbursement, a lot of this is front-loaded by the city. A lot of the benefit going at the beginning of the agreement is going back to the developer. What we seek to do as staff was to kind of level that out to where the city was getting its revenue sooner. So when we were in negotiations, we said we want this to be a 50-50 split. In order to get there, we had to increase this to a 20-year term. That was the consequence of that. One other thing that I will point out is that this is considered to be new money. This is a new development that is coming here. This is all new. For the Honda dealership, this was a relocation. So this was a business that was here in St. Charles, and we had to give the sales tax sharing agreement just to retain it, which is also important. And then the Elgin agreement, which has not been approved but went through their committee of the whole favorably and now is on its way to City Council. 15-year, 50% sales tax rebate. A couple key differences is that there is no maximum on that. So if they perform well, they could end up with a an incentive package that is more than the 5.2 that we've offered. Also, they have included some property tax reductions in there. That's not a lot of money, to be honest, but it is something that's added. And then I'll also say that that is a relocation. That is a car dealership that is already there, and they'll be relocating within the county. Criteria for the incentive policy, of course, this is attracting a new business that's going to improve the city's economic base. Clearly, with the amount of sales tax that it would bring in even after the incentive, it's a desirable business that would enhance the vitality of the city. So with car dealerships being such an important part of the city's budget, maintaining that and growing that part of our budget is important. And then this would increase the employment here in the city of St. Charles. The minimum to meet this requirement is 10. This would be 60 new employees. And with that, I can open up to questions, and Mr. McGrath is here if you have any questions for him.
Jarek, thank you very much for that very thorough presentation. With that, I'll open it up for questions. Go ahead, Brian.
A couple of questions. The utilities for the site, is that going to be paid for by McGrath, or are we responsible for any utility costs?
That will be paid for by Mr. McGrath per the budget that comes in about $450,000.
Okay. Second question is the clawback provision. Let's say, for example, they close in 10 years. What is the process for recuperating that money?
Sure. I have taken a snapshot of what it is in the agreement as far as what the payback is. It's prorated. The longer he is in business, the less the percentage he gets to give back. Of course, the most he's gained. As far as the process goes, he would be closed for whatever reason that would be. We would notify him and telling him that this is the amount that the city is expecting back, and then he would pay it, and hopefully we would be on our way. If there was some type of dispute, it'd end up in the courts. Okay.
And then one last question: the first $250,000, we get the first $250,000, and then it's 50% after that. Is that?
No, I'm sorry. Let me clarify that.
Okay.
So it is. Let's just say he only generates $250,000 in sales tax. That's all the city.
Okay.
If he generates $300,000 in sales tax, the city still gets $250,000, and he gets $50,000.
Okay.
Okay. So it's almost like we get the first $250,000.
Okay.
He gets the second $250,000, and then it doesn't matter. After
Okay.
that, it's just a straight split.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Go ahead, David.
So just to confirm, my colleague asked about the utility incentive. That only pertains to the Honda parcel, not Kia. There's no utility reimbursement attached to this agreement.
Yeah, there's no reimbursement.
Separate, so no utilities involved with Kia. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Mr. Bongard.
Regarding the incentive policy, what other types of businesses use a similar revenue share model in the city?
It's always high, businesses that produce a lot of sales tax, so like grocery stores. Costco. Myers. Yeah.
So we have those currently in the city?
Not to my knowledge, to be honest. It's possible. I know I did one for Tony's. It was a 20-year sales tax sharing agreement in Joliet, but as far as here, I don't know.
Okay. And then just one more. So use of the space, if you didn't put in a Kia dealership, what would we be looking at?
You would not put this here, then, it would be marketed, and it would be, whatever developer thought they could put there. Who knows, it could be a strip center or something like that. It would be some type of commercial, but if it wasn't a car dealership, it would be something that would probably produce less in sales tax.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ed.
And then we did something similar to this for Volkswagen, I believe, but it wasn't as much. I think it was like for $1.5 million or $2 million. I don't know if you are aware of it, and I know Russ is here, but that's going all okay, right, over the last 5 or 6, 7 years, I think now. There's no issue.
Don't be shy.
I don't have the specific details on it.
But there's no issues, I mean, everything moves along, I would assume, right?
No, yes, we've been able to follow through. There were some incentives associated with the building construction to establish the dealership, and that's proceeded, and they've generated sales tax, so, yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Paul.
Couple comments. But how would this compare to the deal? Because I see one deal that we've done before, but other deals for auto dealerships, which, I mean, I generally support, but I want to make sure that we treat, we treat our auto dealerships, similarly, fairly, and we're a great place to do business.
Right.
Are you familiar with that? I know you're new.
I know that there was also an Audi deal that was done. I believe it was valued at $2.6 million in incentives. However, within that agreement, the city had to commit to paying about $1.5 million towards improvement for Woodward, I believe, Woodward Drive. So that would be in the 4 range. That was some years ago. I'll tell you, with this, I wanted to keep this incentive amount equal to the Honda, and would like to not go over that in the future in order to keep businesses here or attract them. So.
Well, with that being said, I mean, the payback, it looks great. We want to be a great place to do business. I'm glad that we're adding a Kia. Everything looks absolutely terrific, but I mean, at the end of this, we absolutely need to be a phenomenal city to do business with, and Mr. McGrath, we want you to be incredibly successful here, so it seems like a good partnership.
Yeah. Go ahead, Todd.
Just an observation on the structure of the agreement. I mean, it aligns interests, it rewards performance, and there's a consequence if there's a change in circumstance. So for me, I think it's really well done. Kudos to everybody who got it structured and got it done.
Go ahead, Rita.
Yeah, I was just gonna, totally off the top of my head, but we had a similar agreement with the Sears appliance store, if you remember that, Ed. And they ended up having to do the clawback, I think, right? I mean, that very close. It was a 5-year thing, and they left before it was. So, right?
I remember the
Yeah.
I remember that now. Oh,
It's like my first one every year.
All right. Well,
hold on.
And if I could just make one quick comment, I know that Derek did say this in his presentation as well, but I do want to emphasize this is new money that we did not have before, so it makes the structure of the fact that we're giving an incentive back a little bit different, just because this is new revenue to the city. So even if we're giving away 50% of that, that's still an influx of a great revenue source for us.
thank you. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Mr. McGrath, for investing in the community and being a good partner with that. With that, I would like a motion and a second to approve the sales tax sharing agreement. Moved by Bongard, seconded by Bancroft. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Moving along.
Mr. Chairman, can I just, real quick, take advantage of Mr. McGrath being here and ask a question that had nothing to do with this, so that, is there any plans for your old property, your current property, right now?
I sold it last week to a beer. He wants to expand.
Perfect, thank you. All right.
Now he's my life.
Oh, good, glad to hear, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Rachel.
David Hunt has requested a facade improvement grant for his property at 105 North 2nd Avenue, which is commonly known as Townhouse Books. The project scope includes intensive surface preparation for exterior painting, repair, and replacing rotting deck boards, damages to fence boards, and other architectural features. The Historic Commission reviewed the application on May 18th and unanimously voted to recommend approval, noting the project is a complete restoration of original materials for a hidden jewel of the downtown. The total project cost was $46,200, but the project is only eligible to receive $20,000 based on the 50% reimbursement. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Questions? No questions?
Move for approval. Second.
Moved by Petrilla, seconded by Wirball. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next up, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none. Any additional items from the mayor, council, staff? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Moved by Wirball, seconded by? Second. Second by Bessner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
With our colleagues, I'm sorry, we need to do a workshop with our colleagues on how to do stuff.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, look at your perfect. Like,